aims to improve our understanding of our closest neighbor, the moon. Discoveries that perhaps will contribute to national development and also serve humanity as a whole. These young students have participated in the space quiz and they are here to witness the historic event. At ISRO, as the boundaries of India's capabilities in space continue to expand, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, encourages exploration of space potential and also application of space technologies to help ease of living. Prime Minister, in his Mann Ki Baat address, had invited students to participate in space quiz. His appeal had got an overwhelming response, and today, apart from the scientists and other stakeholders, we have students not only of India but also of Bhutan to witness the soft landing of Chandrayaan 2 on the south polar region of the moon. So what makes Chandrayaan 2 special? This is the first space mission to conduct a soft landing on the moon's south polar region. The scientists here at ISRO are glued to their systems, analyzing all kinds of complex data. India is at the brink of creating history. Are you ready to witness history tonight? It all starts.
A very good morning and welcome from the Mission Operation Complex of Telemetry Tracking and Command Network, an unit of Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, located in Bangalore in the southern part of India. My name is Radhakrishnan and I have with me my colleague Dr. Alok, who will be bringing to you the live coverage of the Chandrayaan 2 mission in English and Hindi. Today, we are all awaiting anxiously to witness the final phase of critical and most technologically challenging mission operations of Chandrayaan 2, wherein Indian lunar lander named Vikram will be making the soft landing on the surface of the moon. We are approximately 28 minutes away from this important event. For the viewers, just a quick update on the Chandrayaan 2 mission. Chandrayaan 2 spacecraft is a composite unit consisting of 3 independent modules, named an orbiter, a lander called Vikram, and a rover named Chandrayaan, which is housed inside the lander unit. At the time of launch, all these 3 modules are held together as a single spacecraft called Chandrayaan 2, and the total mass of Chandrayaan 2 at launch was 3,850 kilograms. As you are all aware, launch of Chandrayaan 2 spacecraft took place on 22nd of July on board India's heaviest GSLV Mark III launcher from Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. The launcher has successfully placed Chandrayaan 2 into an elliptical transfer orbit around the Earth. Subsequently, Chandrayaan 2 composite module raised its orbit around the Earth by using its rocket propulsion system in preparation to move from the earthbound phase to the lunar transfer phase. Now, if you look at the overall sequence that has happened since the Chandrayaan 2 was inserted into the orbit, the Chandrayaan 2 spacecraft was eventually captured into an orbit around the moon, and later it performed almost 4 lunar-bound maneuvers and lowered its orbit to almost 100 kilometers around the Earth. You may be aware, on 2nd of September, which was 5 days ago from where we are today, the orbiter and the lander module were separated from each other. And the very next day, after the orbiter and lander module got separated, and the lander Vikram module performed 2 deboost operations just to move the orbit from an orbit of 100 by 100 kilometers to an orbit of 30 kilometers by 100 kilometers around the moon. So as on date, where we are almost 26 minutes away from the launch. And the orbiter module is rotating at an orbit of around 100 kilometers around the moon. And we have the most important and crucial powered descent operations. And once this powered descent maneuver is initiated, it's expected to take roughly around 15 minutes for the lander Vikram to make a soft landing on the surface of the moon.
नमस्ते, सुप्रभात और आने वाला दिन शुभ हो। इसी संदेश के साथ मैं आलोक श्रीवास्तव अपने वरिष्ठ वैज्ञानिक साथी श्री राधाकृष्ण जी के साथ आप सभी देश विदेश के दर्शकों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। हम इस समय इसरो टेलीमेट्री ट्रैकिंग एंड कमांड नेटवर्क इस ट्रैक के मिशन कॉम्प्लेक्स से इस बहुचर्चित क्षण का आंखों देखा हाल प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं। उपलब्धियों के भारतीय आकाश का एक और दैदीप्यमान सितारा चंद्रयान 2 के रूप में परिणति के शिखर पर पहुंच चुका है, जिसमें चंद्रयान 2 के लैंडर विक्रम और उसके अंदर संयोजित रोवर प्रज्ञान चंद्रमा के दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर 2 क्रैटरों मैग्नीस सी और सिम्पेलिस एन के बीच मुख्य संभावित अवतरण क्षेत्र SLS-54 PLS-1 जो 70.9027 साउथ अक्षांश या लैटिट्यूड और 22.7811 ईस्ट पूर्व देशांतर या लॉन्जिट्यूड के बीच उतरकर आज भारत के अंतरिक्ष इतिहास में एक नया अध्याय जोड़ेगा। आपकी जानकारी के लिए बता दूं कि इस अक्षांश और देशांतर पर उतरने के लिए लगभग 84 मिनट पहले ही पूर्व निर्धारित निर्देशांकों 70.89992 साउथ अक्षांश और 22.7811 पूर्वांतर देशांतर को लैंडर के कंप्यूटर को भेज दिया गया है। किन्हीं तकनीकी कारणों के चलते अगर ये संभव न हो सका तो इसरो ने इसके लिए दूसरा विकल्प भी तैयार रखा है, जो ALS-0 ALS-1 जो 67.74915 साउथ अक्षांश और 18.46947 वेस्ट देशांतर लॉन्जिट्यूड का चयन कर लिया गया है। आज के दिन तक पहुंचने से पहले चंद्रयान 2 की 48 दिनों की ये लंबी सुनियोजित यात्रा चुनौतियों, कल्पनाओं और यथार्थ की गणनाओं से भरी हुई थी और आज ये यात्रा अपने अंतिम पड़ाव पर आ पहुंची है। इस संपूर्ण यात्रा का वृत्तांत अगर सार संक्षेप में कहें तो केवल इतना कि एक तरफ चुनौतियों की कमी नहीं थी तो दूसरी तरफ चंद्रयान 2 के सृजनकर्ताओं के आत्मविश्वास और तकनीकी नेतृत्व में भी कभी कोई कमी नहीं आई। तभी आज भारतीय वैज्ञानिकों और उनका ये अभियान हर कसौटियों पर खरा उतरा है। तभी ये अभियान तकनीकी और एक लंबे इंतज़ार के बाद आज वो घड़ी आ ही गई जब हम अपने इस अभियान को पूरा करने के साथ ही एक ऐसा इतिहास रचने जा रहे हैं जो आने वाले दिनों में एक मील का पत्थर साबित होगा। किसी भी अंतरिक्ष विज्ञान समृद्ध राष्ट्र के लिए वो दिन बहुत मायने रखता है जब वो शेष विश्व की तकनीकी और विज्ञान के उन्नत राह पर कदम से कदम मिलाकर चलने को तत्पर हो और तैयार हो। गर्व और उत्साह, आत्मविश्वास और प्रगति पथ पर अग्रसर होने की चाह जैसी भावनाओं का मिला जुला प्रवाह आज चंद्रयान 2 के साथ हर भारतीय के दिल में जागृत है। इस समय आप मिशन कॉम्प्लेक्स के अंदर का ये विहंगम दृश्य देख रहे हैं। बड़ी बेसब्री से हर भारतीय वैज्ञानिक आंकड़ों पर गहन नज़र बनाए हुए है। हर आंकड़े अपने आप में एक पूरी कहानी बयान करते हैं।
The countdown is at minus 22 minutes, 2 seconds to go. After 22 minutes, you will be witnessing the powered descent of the Vikram lander module. As I just mentioned, the Vikram lander module is presently orbiting in an orbit of 30 kilometers perihelion, which is the lowest altitude from the surface of the moon, and the apolune, which is the highest point of the orbit from the surface of moon, is around 100 kilometers. And once the descent operation starts, we expect to take roughly around 15 minutes. And some of the important events during the descent phase, which we'll be covering in the subsequent point as we go closer to this particular activity. But before we do that, just to get a update on the orbiter module, which has been orbiting in an orbit of around 100 kilometers. As you are all aware, the total mass of orbiter module is 2,369 kilograms. At launch, we had the composite module of orbiter and the Vikram lander, which was 3,850. So the orbital module, now that it has got separated from the Vikram lander, has a mass of almost 2,370 kilograms. And out of this total mass, the orbiter, the fuel the orbiter carried was almost 1,683 kilograms. So eventually, if you look at the capability of the orbiter, almost 70% of its mass is the fuel. And the primary reason for requirement of such a large quantity of fuel is basically to raise the orbit from the Earth to the moon and then lower it down very close to the moon. As I already mentioned, when the spacecraft was injected in an orbit of around 39,000 kilometers around the Earth, eventually the orbit using the propulsion system of the orbiter was raised to 400,000 plus kilometers to get captured in the sphere of influence of the moon. So the orbiter model has a single engine which has performed nearly 10 orbital raising and lowering maneuvers, and in the process, if you look at it, it's almost operated for nearly 10,000 plus seconds, which is quite a substantial time as far as the number of times and the duration for which the thruster was fired. So orbiter, in addition to all the technological elements and the challenges, has 8 scientific payloads on board, and which are primarily meant for several scientific purposes, namely carrying out the 3-dimensional mapping of the lunar surface, chemical composition, high-resolution imaging of the landing site, mapping lunar craters in the polar regions, in addition to study of lunar exosphere. So life of the orbiter right now is around 1 year in orbit, as it will be orbiting around 100 kilometers from the surface of the moon.